What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Paddy Pimblett talks about next fight. At UFC 304, Paddy Pimblett picked up the biggest win of his career when he submitted King Green in the very first round. Now with a spot on the UFC's official lightweight rankings, the baddie is eager to continue his climb toward UFC gold. While a fight with Renato Moicano has been widely discussed, given the trash talk from both fighters, Pimblett is willing to accept a fight against any lightweight ahead of him in the rankings. During a recent interview with the Action Network, the baddie spoke about his next fight. "I'll just keep fighting and winning. If I get offered Dan Hooker, I'll take it. Jump right up to rank 5. And then it'll probably be a title eliminator next. So yeah, I'm game for any of them. As I say, any name gets sent to me, that's all sound. I'm not shying away from fighting anyone. I was thinking the other week that the perfect route to the title would be Renato Moicano, and then Charles Oliveira or something who's ranked 2. That's what O'Malley's done. He went from ranked 11 to 1. While Pimblett seems to have his sights set on a fight with Renato Moicano, the streaking contender will first have to get through Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC Fight Night Paris later this month, before a bout with Pimblett becomes a possibility. Next up, let's take a look at Shavkat Rakhmonov not worried about Conor McGregor. In the wake of Belal Muhammad's dominant victory over Leon Edwards in Manchester, it's continued to look as though Shavkat Rakhmonov is the next man up for a crack at the welterweight title. While much of the talk regarding the welterweight title shot has revolved around the Nomad and Kamaru Usman, there's also been talk of Conor McGregor getting fast-tracked to a title shot in the event that he defeats Michael Chandler. As the Nomad explained to MMA Fighting, he isn't worried about McGregor cutting the line at welterweight. To be honest, I don't even think about when Conor's going to fight and when he's going to be ready. I don't think about all that. He's been getting ready to fight for a long time, but wasn't able to do that yet. So in my head, I don't really think about him winning this one fight in 3 years. Is that going to do something? I understand he's a big star, but in my head, I don't see it being possible. I believe the UFC is the best and most fair organization, so I believe they're going to do everything right. According to both the champion and his coach, Muhammad is looking to defend his title for the first time this December, the same card many have expected McGregor vs. Chandler to headline. However, according to Chael Sonnen, the McGregor-Chandler fight is being targeted for January.
The UFC wants all of those same things, they just want it in January in California. I mean, it sounds like you got to know who you're going to believe, right? I understand. That's the question to everything. I'm sharing for what I believe, and for very good reason. But that sure sounds close. I mean, that sounds like we're real close here.
With Dana White teasing big news, only time will tell how things play out. Next up, let's take a look at, will Merab Dvalishvili strike with Sean O'Malley? Leading up to Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili's UFC 306 fight at the Sphere, the champion has predicted that he will pick up an early knockout win over the Machine. While the fight has been viewed as a stylistic matchup between a grappler and a striker, some have wondered whether the challenger should avoid a one-dimensional game plan. During a recent interview with Red Corner MMA, Dvalishvili's coach, John Wood, spoke about the matchup and the game plan heading into the massive fight. I always, as a coach, I'll look at the things that make Sean Sean and what do we need to do to get around it. But I never want to overlook what got Merab to the dance, what brought Merab into this title fight. And we have to try to keep those things in check and not lose ourselves. Oh, we have to go learn traditional boxing, we have to learn striking, we have to do these things to compete with O'Malley because that's how we're going to get knocked out. Merab is a crazy man, we just have to make him a technical crazy man. As Wood went on to explain, he and Dvalishvili plan to mentally break O'Malley inside the octagon, using the challenger's unique blend of pace and pressure. With Fight Night less than 2 weeks away, the MMA world has remained divided on how the fight will play out, with odds currently split on FanDuel. Next, let's take a look at Robert Whittaker praises Gilbert Burns ahead of Sean Brady fight. This weekend, Gilbert Burns will look to snap a 2-fight skid when he steps into the octagon to fight Sean Brady at the Apex. After suffering a shoulder injury in a loss to Belal Muhammad at UFC 288 last year, Burns then returned to action in March, where he suffered a TKO loss to Jack Della Maddalena. While the former title challenger has lost 2 straight now, Robert Whittaker believes that Burns is one of the greatest MMA grapplers in UFC history. During a recent episode of his MMA Arcade podcast, the Reaper praised Burns' grappling while weighing in on Burns' latest loss.
I think Gilbert Burns is one of the best MMA grapplers of all time. Like, he's phenomenal at grappling, period. But in terms of MMA grappling, I think he's one of the best of all time. With the JDM fight, he was winning until he took a knee to the dome, right? Yeah. But he was winning. So, like, I thought he was looking good up until that point. So, I don't know. My money's on Burns, okay? But crazier things have happened.
Although Whittaker is predicting that Burns will snap his 2-fight skid, the betting odds on DraftKings currently have Sean Bready sitting as a negative 185 favorite after his submission win over Kelvin Gastelum back in December returned him to the win column following his first professional loss. Next, let's take a look at UFC updates. Ahead of this weekend's UFC Fight Night card at the Apex, headlined by Gilbert Burns and Sean Bready, let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with a featherweight scrap between Darren Elkins and Daniel Pineda, scheduled for UFC Vegas 99 on October 19th. The bout will see Elkins look to build on an October 2023 win over TJ Brown, while on the flip side, Pineda will be looking to bounce back from a July loss to Nathaniel Wood. The UFC Vegas 99 card on October 19th will also play host to a bantamweight bout between Jake Hadley and Bready Highstand, which will see Highstand look to build on a 3-fight win streak inside the octagon, while on the flip side, Hadley will be looking to build on a UFC 304 victory over Kayla Loughran. The following week at UFC 308, Shara Magomedov and Armen Petrosyan will compete in a middleweight bout that will see Magomedov look to build on an August victory in Abu Dhabi, while Petrosyan looks to bounce back from a February loss to Rodolfo Vieira. Last but certainly not least, the UFC 309 card on November 16th will reportedly play host to a bantamweight fight between Jonathan Martinez and Marcus McGee that will see Martinez look to bounce back from a May loss to Jose Aldo, and McGee look to build on a 3-fight win streak inside the octagon. Next, let's take a look at Kayla Harrison reacts to Sean Strickland comments. Late last month, Sean Strickland was asked on social media whether the average man could beat up a female UFC fighter. The former champion responded saying yes, which then in turn sparked a massive debate on social media. The comments, of course, weren't the first controversial comments Strickland has made regarding women. Last summer, during a Fight Week media scrum for his July 1st fight with Abus Magomedov, Strickland controversially stated that the United States needs to get women out of the workplace and back into the kitchen.
We need to go back to taking women out of the workforce, and maybe that's where we fucked up, you guys. We let women vote. No offense.
In response to Strickland's latest comments about the average man beating a female UFC fighter, one social media user stated that if Kayla Harrison bumped into him, he would still apologize, tagging the former Olympian in his post. Harrison then responded, simply CCing Strickland on the post after his latest comments. So far, no response yet from the former champ. However, he's continued to engage with fans throughout the holiday weekend in the US on a variety of other topics. Belal Muhammad calls out Sean Strickland in a recent interview. Belal claims that he would beat Strickland if he moved up to 185 and fought him. Here's what Belal had to say.
Oh man, I would love to fight Sean. It doesn't even have to be belt on the line. I would just fight him just to fight him at 185. I don't think he's gonna be touching gold anymore. Dude sucks. Oh, I slap him around. I literally go in there and I slap him around. Sean, when I think of tough fights, Sean's not one of them. I think he would be an easy fight for me. He beats a lot of guys with cardio. I have better cardio than him. He beats a lot of guys with jabs. I have better boxing than him. He beats guys with teeps. But those guys, they fight him a certain way. They don't fight him smart. He fights safe. And he fights to not get hit, and he fights to not lose. So I think I go in there and I break him with pressure, and I'll make it look easy.
The MMA community is concerned for Alex Pereira after he called out Dricus Du Plessis for the middleweight title. Alex wrote on Instagram saying, "I'm focused on my next fight and I'm going to be prepared, but you never know what can happen. So regardless of the result, I want to go down one more time to the middleweight and go for the belt. Hey Dricus, bring your will to fight me so you can prove that you are better than me. With your public statement, it's easy to make this happen. Shama." Dricus responded on Twitter saying, "Alex, you and your boyfriend Sean Strickland can have a domestic dispute on who gets slept first." Magomed Ankalaev reacted to Alex Pereira's call out by writing on Twitter, "You are so weak, Alex. You only picked on the guys who are in lower division than you. There's a reason why you are fighting Khalil and not me." Here's what the MMA community had to say. "I really wish he would get this idea out of his head. The move is to go to heavyweight and try to become the first triple champ. It's going to be so incredibly hard for him to go back down now. Dumb move. He's a literal corpse of himself at 185. That is such a bad idea. Alex looked so weak last time he went to 185. As much as I want to see him fight DDP, I'd much rather see Pereira move to heavyweight and fight John Jones. Can't watch Boatan go through another weight cut. It's more of a side quest at this point. He's so scared of Ankalaev, it's actually crazy. I don't see Alex making 185, and if he does, he's going to be super vulnerable again to the KO. At 205, he kills Dricus. Please, Poatan, don't go down to 185. The UFC is protecting him from Ankalaev, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does fight DDP. Top comments. If Chimaev pulls out of this fight, he should absolutely be cut from the UFC. He's pulled out of more fights than he's actually fought. There's still plenty of time for Khamzat to get a cold. If they give Usman the title shot, UFC would be an absolute joke. Obviously, Shavkat is the most deserving right now. He's undefeated, sitting on a 100% finish rate. Like, what the F? It's a no-brainer. Usman should win at least 1 or 2 fights to get back in the title picture. UFC can't F this up. Looks like they're trying to prevent Chimaev from gassing out. Took notes from the Usman fight.